Hi, Jeff Mucklin here. I'm with the Nurture Nature Center, and this is Science at Home. Behind me, you can see a pedestrian walkway that goes across Route 22, which is one of the Lehigh Valley's busiest highways. And the cars passing underneath that bridge are producing air pollution. These vehicles are powered by burning gasoline or diesel fuel, and as they burn this fuel, they produce water vapor, which isn't of much concern. If you've ever noticed white smoke coming out of the tailpipe of a car, particularly on a cold day, that's actually mostly water vapor. They're also producing carbon dioxide, which is of concern because as the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has built up over time, it's leading to climate change. They're also producing other pollutants like nitrogen dioxide, which in low levels can be irritating and in high levels can actually lead to breathing difficulties. And they're also producing many different kinds of particle pollution. Things like soot or sulfate or like brake dust. Now the soot and brake dust and sulfate all can lead to breathing difficulties, and the sulfate can actually lead to acid rain. But I can measure the particle pollution pretty easily with a very simple device that is a kind of air particle pollution detector. And it's just a piece of paper that I cut a circle in and put a piece of clear tape over. And I've left one of these on that bridge for 6 days. And I can then take this detector back home and I can put it under a microscope and see what kinds of pollution I've found. And I've placed these detectors all over Easton. Let's go to some of the different locations. I've placed one near this construction site in Southside Easton. And what I expect to find here is a lot of dust. Dust from rocks and from disturbed soil. I placed another one of these air particle pollution detectors here at this very busy intersection at 25th and Butler Street. And at this location, because the vehicles stop at a red light very frequently, I expect to see an elevated level of particle pollution. I hit another one among these rocks down by the waterfall where the Lehigh meets the Delaware River. I don't expect to find much pollution from cars here. Rather, I expect to find plant debris. Placed another one under this bridge that Smith Avenue passes under. And I expect this one to be one of the worst. I've placed a few of my air quality detectors inside my own home. I have a dog. This is Nico. You may have seen him in the background in some of my videos. So for this reason, because he's here, I expect that inside my house I'm going to find quite a bit of dander. There are other sources of pollution, air pollution inside your home. Many products can produce certain gases that I cannot detect. Gases such as volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. They can be very irritating and they're bad for your health. If you burn anything at all inside your home, that's going to dramatically increase the amount of air pollution in your home. Cigarette smoking, if you have gas oven, if you have a fireplace, or even if you burn candles. Candles can produce a surprising amount of particle pollution. I've placed the air quality sample detector up here, and the candle is right down in here, in the base of this little fireplace. And I'm just going to light the candle, and we'll leave it burn for an hour or two, and we'll see what kind of air pollution we detect with this one. It's been 6 days, and I'm now going around town and picking up my air sample collectors. And we're going to take them back to the Nurture Nature Center where I have a microscope, and we're going to see what kind of air pollution we detected. I'm back at the Nurture Nature Center, and I'm all set up to start looking at the results of my air particle pollution detectors. And I've been going over some of them already, and the results are in some cases surprising. In some cases they're actually quite predictable. I actually held one of my sample detectors within 6 inches of the tailpipe of a diesel-powered vehicle, within 6 inches of the tailpipe of a gasoline-powered vehicle, both for 5 minutes, and I held another one, as you saw previously, above a candle. And let's just look at these different sources of pollution. So here's my setup. I have a microscope with a camera attached to it. On the microscope right now is my sample that I held next to the tailpipe of a diesel-powered vehicle. And on this monitor, we can see the results. You can see lots of black particles. These are relatively large particles of soot that were coming out of the tailpipe, and there's a large number of them. Diesel engines often produce large amounts of soot like this. This is the sample that I held at the tailpipe of a gasoline-powered vehicle, and there are notably less particles here. They're slightly smaller on average, but there is less soot here, and you'll also notice there are some red particles here and there, which I believe is rust, a little bit of metal flaking off and coming out of the tailpipe. I've got the results of my candle air quality detector on the microscope now, and you can see these black lines here. These are hairs that wound up on the piece of tape, and they're coated in a very, very fine soot, a very fine powder. For the most part, though, this sample looks pretty pristine. I don't see any particles, for the most part, outside of where those hairs are. But this is deceptive. This entire detector is kind of shaded now. It's slightly darker than it was before. But the particles are so small that even with a microscope, you cannot see the individual pieces of soot. This is actually very bad. This small particle size allows this soot to get deeper into your lung tissue, which can be more of a problem. So we've been measuring particle pollution with my detectors. And this is a really neat data set from the Science on a Sphere that shows the presence of different particle pollutions in the atmosphere around the world. In blue, it's showing us sea salt, which does become a particle in the atmosphere. We can also see white, which would be sulfates. This is caused in some cases, but when people burn fuels that are rich in sulfur, we can produce sulfate this way, which leads to the production of acid rain. In green, we can see black carbon or soot, and again, this has artificial and natural sources. Forest fires produce a lot of soot. You can also see significant amounts of soot being produced in cities as people burn fossil fuels. And then finally, in red, we can see dust. You can see an enormous amount of dust being produced in the Sahara Desert in Africa. If you're worried about the air quality in your home, make sure to avoid burning things inside your home. Burning some scented candles every now and again is fine. Just restrict how frequently you do this. And also, just consider opening your windows when the weather is good, because the air outside your home is probably of higher quality than the air inside your home. And also consider getting a carbon monoxide alarm. If you're still concerned about the air quality inside your home, you can buy filters that remove pollutants from the air in your home. And if you have more plants in your home, they can actually help to filter out air pollutants as well. So go ahead and get some plants growing in a nice sunny spot inside your house. It'll probably beautify the space as well. And if you're interested in learning more about air pollution, for the at-home activity, I encourage you to make your own air pollution detectors. The way I made my detectors was to start with business cards, and I cut a circle in them. I used this flashlight as a template, and then I put a piece of tape over that circle. And that's really all there is to it. They're very easy to make. If you want to collect some samples, just make sure to very carefully keep track of where you place your air samples, detectors, and how long you leave them there. That way you can use that information to better learn how much air pollution is in a particular environment later. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you enjoyed learning about air quality with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.